All right, welcome everyone to the Final Project Showcase. We are joined here by some of our recent graduates from the product design and the software engineering disciplines here at Flatiron. We are super excited and welcome these graduates. They've worked really super hard and have completed the program and have built some beautiful and amazing projects. And I'm really excited to have them all highlight those. Just a couple of logistical things before we get started. So each participant is going to present their project, and then afterwards we'll have a couple of minutes for some questions and answers. So I just encourage you all, as soon as you have a question, to make this run as smoothly as possible. You can either put your question in the chat, or you can use the question and answer box over there as well. And then I will be directing the questions to each presenter, but don't feel like you have to wait until the end of the presentation. As soon as you have a question, you can go ahead and put it in, and then I will just make sure that I hold all questions until the end of each presentation. And another just really quick thing, my Wi-Fi went out, so I am currently at my church in the lobby using their Wi-Fi, and so people might be coming in at some point. And so I will be muted as much as possible when I'm not directing questions to the participants. But if I am unmuted and I am asking questions and you hear just some background noise, that's what it is, and I apologize in advance. But we can go ahead and get started. I'm very excited for our first presenter. Please welcome Jasmine Elkins.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Elkins. I'm a full stack developer, and I'm presenting my app, Forget Me Not. So I'm going to go ahead and share. Can everyone see? Okay, so for my capstone project, I wanted to build something that is beautiful and unique and also helpful to me in my daily life. So something that I struggle with is keeping track of all the things that I want to read and come back to. I'm sure you've dealt with this. If you're reading something cool, you want to save it for later, and you have basically two options. You can keep the tab open forever, which I don't recommend, or you save it to the built-in reading list of your web app, of your web browser. So the problem with built-in reading lists is that they're unorganized, they're not visually appealing, and it makes it hard to keep track of the articles that you want to read. So I built Forget Me Not, which allows you to save your articles to a custom reading list and then receive them as an email styled as a newsletter. So when you log into Forget Me Not, you'll be taken to your homepage, which shows your weekly newsletter. This contains all the content of the articles that you've saved for that week. And if you go to your reading list, it shows you every article that you've saved to any newsletter, weekly or monthly, and the date that you can expect that newsletter to be sent. So Forget Me Not is designed to be used with the Chrome extension that I built. So this Chrome extension is checking first in the browser sessions if there's a user logged in. And since there is, it gives you the option to add this article to your weekly or monthly newsletter. So behind the scenes, a lot of things are going on. This Chrome extension is checking for the URL of the current tab. And it's also running two custom web scrapers that I built to check for the title and the source. And then for certain sources, including Medium and the New Yorker, it is scraping more content, including the article, text, and any images that are associated with it. So to use this, I have this article pulled up from Medium. I will open the extension and click Add to Monthly Newsletter. This will give you a status message saying when it's been saved, at which point you go back to your reading list, refresh your page, and you can see that this has been added to the bottom. Because this Chrome extension is still in developer mode and it's not ready for public use, I also included this embedded form, which does the same thing behind the scenes. So you would copy and paste your article here, show that it's added to the bottom of your reading list, and then delete because you have extras. To view your newsletter, there's two ways of seeing this. You can see it here on the Forget Me Not website, and you can choose your weekly or monthly newsletter. And you can also receive it as an email. So ideally, the program will send this automatically at the end of every week and every month. And for the purpose of demonstration, I've included a button that clicking will manually send the email. So now I go over to my email and refresh. I can see I have my monthly newsletter has appeared and will show me the content that I saved to that monthly newsletter. So I built Forget Me Not using a React and JavaScript front end and a Ruby on Rails backend. I used a couple of Ruby gems extensively, the Waiter and Nokogiri gems for web scraping and the Decrypt for user authentication. I built the Chrome extension using JavaScript and React, and I designed and styled everything using pure CSS. And the app is deployed successfully on Heroku using the Postgres database. The biggest challenges for me in building this were building the Chrome extension and having it interact with the web application. It does interact and work with the application when it's hosted locally, but my next step is to figure out how to connect it to the deployed version. The other challenges were creating these custom web scrapers for each different source and also styling the email to have it look like a formatted newsletter. And here is my contact information if you'd like to reach out or have any questions. And that is my presentation.
Great job. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat or in the question and answer. Also, please take a screenshot or write down on Jasmine's contact information so that you can reach out, ask her any questions, do some networking, whatever it is. I love this so much, Jasmine. I won't screen share and show you all of my tabs that I have open. But I did just start creating like a bookmark at the top of, Chrome, just to be like, these are the things that I want to read. And it's just like entitled things to read. So this would be awesome. So I love that you came up with this. I can't wait for it to be something that I can use. So I will actually say I've been hosting this for a while now. You're the first person that I've seen build a Chrome extension in addition to their application. Which was harder, the building the app or the Chrome extension?
I think getting started on the Chrome extension was harder. A lot of the documentation for building these extensions say, so easy, you'll build it in 15 minutes. And Chrome changed their protocol for it in January of this year, and there's not a lot of updated material since then. So figuring out how to get that working and connected, like talking to the website, I think was the hardest part of the project.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine. Well, thank you so much for coming and presenting. Yes, it was so good. Again, make sure that you take a screenshot or write down Jasmine's contact information. Oh, it looks like we do have one. Oh, yes, sorry. Just give me 1 second to do that. Okay, it should be, there we go. Sorry about that. All right, so if anyone has any questions for Jasmine later, if you think of something like in a couple of minutes, feel free to just put it in the question and answer box, and I will make sure to then direct it towards Jasmine at the end, but don't feel like you need to not do it now if you haven't already asked. Okay, so thank you, Jasmine. Big round of applause.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Stop sharing now.
Thank you. All right. So next we are moving on to John Ogletree. Please welcome John.
Thank you. That was fantastic, by the way, Jasmine. That was really impressive. All righty, I'll go ahead and share my screen here. And that's popping up okay. Sweet. All right, so my name's Jonathan Ogletree. I'm a full stack software engineer. I created a application called Medmuncher, winning at taking your medications. It's just it's kind of a simple reminder application that reminds people to take their medications, consistently and on time. Some medications, timeliness is kind of a factor with it, and I wanted to make something that was a little bit more mundane, a little more fun. Problems to solve: remind people to take their medications, and in some way incentivize that through like a gaming sort of sense, and give people a sense of accomplishment, through points and levels and stuff for taking their medications. Let's go ahead and take a look at it here. So this is kind of the front page here. Create an account here. I'll just do this real quick. Just to show you what the page looks like with nothing on it. You can edit your profile, and you get to add a little character here. You can add an image and change your name. I don't have an image stored right now on this one, but we'll log out and go to one that I have set up a little bit more real quick here. So my image set up, and I have some medications already on here. Each medication card shows you what it is, how to take it, the doctor prescribed it. I have a couple of them here. Click these. It's usually going to be days, the countdown, but I just have it set to seconds right now, so it's a little quicker. I start the timer, and these will count down separately based on, how long you need to do it. There's an add doctor thing here to add doctors to your database. Again, Dr. John, patient here, phone number, not really important, email, put all that in there. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. And then the timers are also still running in the background. So this is the add medication page. I can add medications here. I think I already have Advil, but that's fine. Put your dosage here. Frequency, again, this will be by tens of seconds for demonstration purposes. Your starting quantity, which as you take each medication, as you confirm it, it decrements by the dosage. I can select your doctors here, which I have some in my database already. Fill date and refill date. Add your medication, it puts it on here. There you go, I did it. And the other ones have completed each of their things. And I can also remove medications as well. And restart the timer and start the timer again. I should have left two so it could show that they run independent of each other. And then I can go to, back and forth to each one. It keeps running. And yeah, once this runs out a 0, it'll let you know that you're out of medication and remind you to get more of that medication as well. So that's pretty much the functionality of it. Just something a little fun. Technologies I used React, some Ruby Rails for backend router. I use this old school Nintendo CSS styling framework, bcrypt for the password, some Flexbox for styling, and then tested things with Postman. Challenges I had, really the timer was like the toughest thing, to have simultaneous timers running in the background continuously. was pretty difficult to work that all out. And then just getting the CSS to kind of everything to fit together the way I wanted it to have kind of a fun, interactive feel to it. And then I'm trying to work on building it into a phone application, because that's really going to make the most sense. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Here's my contact information, and thank you, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. That was really
Thanks.
fun. Yes, everyone, please take a screenshot of this page right here. Make sure that you write down his contact information so that you can reach out. I did have one question in the chat, was on the page before of all of your technologies, what was the orange icon?
This is post.
Okay.
Which is just a API for testing out your requests and stuff.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yes, great job. Make sure you go back to your other page so that people can take down your information. Yeah, I think I'm very curious about, because it seems to me like you put a lot of thought into the styling of it. And so can you just tell me a little bit about that process?
Yeah, it was quite a bit of trial and error with that. Searching for the framework that kind of, that was really a big help with kind of giving some of the borders and stuff to some of the things that have that, 8-bit look, which is what I really wanted to go for. And then, yeah, messing with the flex box and getting things to kind of move and align to where it looked, having a pop-up dialog boxes in relationship to the characters on there was just a lot of trial and error, really. I mean, it took a little bit of time to just fuss with it and get it dialed in.
There's another question. What was the thought behind Dr. Hannibal Lecter?
Oh, I was just trying to think of famous doctors.
I love it. I love it.
I don't know, famous doctors like Dr. Evil, Dr. Kevorkian on there. That was just trying to think of different names. I didn't want any real doctors.
I like it. It's fun. All right. Well, John, thank you so much. Thank you. And yes, please make sure that you take a screenshot of this, write down his contact information, reach out. And if anyone has any questions or thinks of anything coming up, feel free to just keep putting the questions in the chat. Thank you, John.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, so next we are moving on to our one representative for product design. Super excited to finally get the ball rolling on having product design here and included in this. So please welcome Connor Hayward. Thank you, Connor.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to share my project. I'm just going to jump into sharing my screen here. But as Gretchen mentioned, I'm a product designer. I just finished up a couple weeks ago through the Flatiron program, and I'm very excited to show you my project, which is a redesign of the Strava mobile application. And for those who are not familiar, Strava is how I would describe as a fitness version of like Instagram or Twitter. You can post pictures, you can show like where you've run or where you've biked or whatever that might be. And you can connect with people. It's really the whole 9 yards. It's a fitness version of social media. But the thing with Strava lately has been that they've been focusing a lot on paywall optimization, figuring out ways they can convert people, and they haven't really spent a lot of time on their interface for that reason in the last few years. And so I decided for my final project that I wanted to work on modernizing and reflecting some of the common UI standards that you see today in Strava. So how did I start to do that? The first thing I did was I performed a cognitive walkthrough, which meant that I took a pool of users who use Strava, whether they were like a competitive athlete or whether they were just someone who kind of just uses it casually. And I asked them to perform 4 different scenarios. And while these 4 different scenarios aren't necessarily the main functionality in Strava, I felt that they addressed all of the core areas that users are going to come across. So the 4 scenarios I had them do were manually upload an activity, search for themselves or another user on Strava, record a bike ride, a run, or some other activity using the Strava record feature, and then change the unit of measurement from miles to kilometers. And so why I did this was I really just wanted to see how people interacted with the product itself. And these videos that you're seeing here are actually some of the users that I had just moving through the Strava app. I had a screen recorder on, that way I could see how they actually interacted with things, how they moved through the app, which I thought was really important for me as a designer to figure out how to best shape things going forward. So some of the key takeaways here. The big three that we found, that the search function, including finding other users and groups, was confusing and not super intuitive. Key functionality can often be hard to navigate as it relates to the style of iconography used, which I'll show you later, but you're going to see that some of the iconography doesn't lend super well to what you might initially think it might mean. And then lastly, the levels of hierarchy within the dashboard created confusion with the amount of data presented. Strava has a lot of data that is shown within the app. And so a challenge for me that you're going to see going forward is how I kept the same amount of data, but just organized things a little bit differently so there was a better sense of hierarchy within the app. So the first thing I started with was the dashboard redesign. This is just the main page here. On the left, you have the initial Strava page before the redesign. And then on the right here, you have a normal view as well as an expanded view. Some things to note is that on this left view here for before, there's these gray dividers. These gray dividers are pretty consistent throughout the theme, but it kind of removed the sense of being immersed in the app and didn't feel super modern. So by taking those away, as I did in the right side here, and just using negative space a little bit differently, it felt like the app was a little bit more fresh, modern, and immersive, as I mentioned. You'll also notice that the levels of hierarchy within this app are a little different now too. So a lot of the information originally was just thrown at the top above a photo, and then you could scroll down and add a comment. But I took some cues from Instagram and Twitter and just used how they displayed information to do the same thing with how information is displayed within this app. So you have the most important information first. So who's showing the app, or excuse me, who's showing the post, what the title is, some of this data here, and then you have comments, description, anything else, a share feature, things like that. And then you'll also notice as well that some of the icons are a little bit more self-explanatory. If you were to look at this left-hand side before, we had a lot of users who couldn't really figure out where the search button was. And the search button was actually this group icon in the top left here. There wasn't initially a search icon. So by adding that, it just allows you to move throughout the app a little bit better. Moving on to the next thing, I focus on redesigning the groups page. So the groups page is here on the left. Again, a lot of information, and I was just trying to figure out how to properly organize things throughout the page and give you the most important information first, as well as finding ways to make it a little bit cleaner and use space a little bit better. So with this, that just meant just rounding some of the icons off to make it look a little bit more modern, putting the clubs that are most relevant to you, such as the clubs you're in, up to the front, and then allowing you to discover clubs at the bottom. That way you can just move through the app a little bit more seamlessly. Moving on to the last thing here, I would focus on redesigning the profile page. Profile page is probably where the most dense amount of data is going to be within the app. Not only is there this sort of mileage per week graph, but there's a lot of other features, as you can see here. So like your activities, your statistics that move into a drop-down menu. You can have a trophy case. And so again, I wanted to focus on removing these gray dividers, making things a little bit more immersive, a little bit more clean, giving you the most relevant information first, all while just using negative space to separate things as opposed to using these gray dividers. Going forward, I'm going to continue working in Figma. That's what I used to design this app. But going forward, now that I've redesigned some of the basic user interface for the app, the growth opportunities here are finding different ways to add or incorporate new functionality. So include some features from like fitness bands, or like watches or heart rate straps, finding all this new data. And because data visualization is such a popular trend in UI and UX right now, finding different ways to visualize that data going forward in the app, I think will be pretty cool. So, but that's it for me. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for having me.
Awesome, Connor. Thank you so, so much. It's so exciting getting to see, because I've been in the dark about the product design final projects as well. And so finally getting some graduates coming through and getting to see these, it's really, really impressive.
Definitely.
I will also say, I'm not kidding, like 2 weeks ago, deactivated my Strava because
Oh no.
I was just annoyed with it and I didn't feel like
Yeah.
paying for it anymore. So
Yeah.
I think
I
that
get
this
it.
is super, super, yeah, this
I
is
get
super
it.
interesting. I love the things that you did. I love making it that you made it look a little bit more like what I'm used to with like Instagram and things like that. I
Yeah.
think that that's like a key thing,
Totally.
it looks super clean. I really like what you did. So great job.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Everyone, please make sure to take a screenshot or write down Connor's information, reach out. I think, yeah, this is super exciting. And I already see like some opportunities from like you all in here just to interact with each other and like work together on things.
Totally.
And yeah, so very exciting.
Totally.
And again, if anyone has any questions for Connor, feel free to put it in the chat box or in the question and answer box, and I will get to it as soon as we're all done. But make sure that you write down his information, take a screen grab right now. And thank you, Connor, so much. Awesome.
Thank you so much again. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, finally, we have our last presenter. Please welcome Chris Ninman. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. I'm going to, introduce myself first. I'm Christopher Ninman. I'm a full stack software developer with a specialty in front end, and I like to kind of lead a little bit into that design aspect as well. I'm also an educator and a musician. So this project kind of brought in a lot of my interests. It's Curatify, all about the album. So where this came from, I used to collect CDs. Every last penny that I had always went to purchasing a CD. I had 200 CDs in my car at all times. And Spotify came along and other streaming services, but mainly Spotify for me. And I didn't need all of that. However, I found myself missing that physical interaction with music, with you pick up the CD, you put it in, you have your albums, those ones that are special to you. So I got into vinyl record collecting. And so my project is trying to make Spotify a little bit more organized for those who prefer to experience their music in the form of an album versus Spotify, which is very good for just the amount of music it has. The way you can create playlists, like my wedding playlist was there. It gives you suggestions. They're always coming out with new features. But I want to keep separate music that I love and hold dear and things that I just want to hear. And sometimes the things that I want to hear just get lost into nothingness. And I found it kind of difficult to browse. So here's my goal: reimagine Spotify for album collectors, or
Chris,
build it exactly.
Chris, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Can you just make sure you share your screen?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I can certainly do that. I used to teach within online, and so it was life in Zoom, and then I forgot about that life, and I'm very glad that I'm not back in that life and that I've been off of Zoom for a while. So
you're good now. We see it.
Letting me know. All right, so Curatify was built with a React front end and a Ruby on Rails back end, and a whole lot of custom CSS as well. I used Canva for a lot of the icons, the images, the design sort of stuff. And then Figma is an amazing tool that I used for laying out the database, the component hierarchy, and kind of the flow of state within my application. A couple other things I used: Spotify OAuth in order to have users get access to the Spotify API. They need to give me permission to use their account, and also Spotify requires that you have logged in. Obviously, they don't want to give away all of their content for free. I use a library called React Spotify Web Playback, which is basically a way to embed a Spotify player within your website. And I also used a library called React Beautiful DND, which is a drag and drop feature, which I use for album lists, because that is another thing that I like to do, is order my albums however I want to. So let's head into the application here. So we got a lot of the major features you would have with Spotify. You have your, your library, you got your artist list, a search function. So let's just kind of head in. Let's do a search. All right. So let's say I know Saxophone Colossus very well. I want to add this to my collection. I have a few different options. The title, artist, and release date are already preloaded for me. If there's something like remastered in there that I don't want in, I can take it out. These are all genres that I have already added to different albums. I can add other genres or just select genres that are already on there. So let's, we'll put that on a 10. One of my all-time favorites, it's instrumental, and then let's add that to my collection. So now if I head to my collection, I have many ways in order to find an album that I would like to listen to. So if I'm looking for Sonny Rollins, I find it right here. No other options. If I want to search, I can order all of my albums based upon the rating, the artist name, the album title, or the year they were released, whether I want that from old to new or new to old. I can also arrange, so if I'm in the mood for a jazz album, I have friends over and I know they just love jazz. So let's search for a jazz album. Here I have my collection is filtered by jazz. Let's say I just want jazz, instrumental jazz albums. I now just have my instrumental jazz albums. If I would like to listen to it, I have two options. I can either play it within my application, or I could open it separately in Spotify should I prefer that method. So if I open it here, the React web player is going to open that up if the internet works. And there we go. Should I want to, I can continue to listen to the album. I can listen to the album, hide the album details, kind of browse through, go through all my collection. One other feature here, let's remove all of these filters. If I just want to kind of take a look, I'm visual. I just like to flip through my albums. So I can search and find them that way, select an album, and then just listen to that. Let's go back. Let's say I have another Sonny Rollins album that I was recommended by a friend I want to listen to, but I don't know if I actually want this in my collection. So I will add that to my queue. And so now here it is in my queue. These are albums I would like to listen to, but don't necessarily want to, metaphorically pay $15 for to put it into my collection. Here's the list feature where you can drop and drag. That'll be saved and updated in the database, so it'll remember the order of everything that you have. One other feature is that my goal was to kind of like connect you with another user rather than having an algorithm tell you what you should listen to. So if I want to select my favorite albums, I can go through, I can select, say I want to check, we'll just go with 2 because I know I have a user that has that. I can find another user that has these matching albums, click on them, I can see their collection, I can follow them, and then head into my friends and browse their collection. All right, let's head back in, and I'll start out with going over some of the challenges that I found. OAuth was much trickier than I imagined it would be. The documentation that Spotify gave wasn't always exactly as it said, partly probably because we were using Rails in the program, and most of it was for Node.js, and so everything was tricky. Ultimately, I found the solution by a blog post from a former student. There's also develop and deploy is different because you have a callback, which sends you to a different redirect. And so that's different when you're developing versus when you're deploying it. The drag and drop library was no longer maintained, which I found out later. And so my version of the app, which was running on React 18, did not want to accept it, which meant I had to roll everything back to 17, which was something new to learn. And then I also figured out Spotify starts you in developer mode, so you can actually only have 25 users on your application at first, and you need to get their approval before you can go beyond that. Some of my biggest takeaways: Google's my best friend. I would have never been able to complete something like this without learning how to Google and how to find stuff. And like I said, blogs from other people. And so it's kind of changed my intent to use my blogs to help, and maybe somebody finds something very valuable to them using a blog that I've written. Future plans would be to get this approved by Spotify so that I can have more than 25 users, make it a little more mobile friendly with a lot of custom CSS. It looks good on a laptop, but not so good on a mobile device. I'd like to allow users to add albums that are not on Spotify. So if you got a list and that album's not on Spotify, but you want it on the list, it's there. And I would also like to add some sort of chat feature where you can actually give real human recommendations. Thank you so much. Please, I'm keeping this simple. Just connect with me on LinkedIn. You're just going to search for Christopher Ninman, since that's the only one, and everything should be on that page. If you are interested in trying out the application, you want to be one of those 25 and let me know some of the bugs, I would love to get you on there. Thank you for your time. All the best.
Awesome, Chris. Thank you. I love that you're keeping it simple. Just look up Christopher Ninman. Perfect. I would definitely use this. I would use this. I love the features that you put in. I think you should be talking to Spotify for sure. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, I will say that I think that this is my favorite showcase so far. These projects were all so exceptional. They were such great ideas. Like, I loved every single one of these ideas, and they're all things that I would actually use. So I just applaud all of your creativity and ingenuity. You all did such a good job. I'm so impressed for going through a bootcamp program, what you all did. And I'm really excited to see what you're going to do in the future. So yeah. Thank you for everyone for coming and participating. Thank you, presenters, and have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.